Imagine for a second moving into your brand new home, right?
Mhm.
You're unpacking, you turn to your next door neighbor, and you realize you paid like $50,000 less than they did for the exact same
Right.
floor plan.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a wild thought.
Right. And it's not like you negotiated harder or, you didn't have some secret coupon.
Mm.
You literally just bought yours on a Tuesday in March, and they bought theirs on a Friday in October.
Just timing.
Exactly, just timing. That right there is the power of timing in real estate. So today, we're taking a deep dive into the underlying mechanics of that timing. We're looking at this very specific strategic maneuver in new construction. It's known as the early advantage.
Yeah, and it is a phenomenal concept to unpack because it completely flips the traditional script on how most of us view buying a home.
Totally.
I mean, the insights we are using today come directly from Jubril Wilson, who goes by Coach JB, and his team over at New Home University.
Right.
He spent years just breaking down the psychology and like the financial architecture of the new construction market. And when you look at his teachings, you realize that most buyers enter the market focused entirely on their budget or, their credit score.
Which makes sense. I mean, that's what we're taught to do.
Sure, absolutely. But in new construction, your greatest assets are actually information and timing.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because I know the initial reaction for anyone listening right now is probably, well, great, so I just need to rush in and write a check before everyone else.
Right, just sprint to the builder.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that's not what Coach JB is saying at all. The mission for today's deep dive is to understand the actual timeline of how a massive community is built from the ground up. So you can leverage that timeline to maximize your choices and basically build equity before you even get the keys.
Yeah, that's the dream.
And to do this, we're going to ground our entire conversation in a real-world case study. It's a major development called Watermark at Westphalia.
Yeah, and Watermark at Westphalia is the perfect laboratory for this because, well, it's not just a handful of houses being built on a cul-de-sac somewhere.
Right, it's huge.
Exactly. It's a massive multi-phase community. And examining a project of that scale allows us to see exactly what happens to the buyers who enter the process at the very beginning.
The early birds, basically.
Right, the early birds versus the buyers who wait until the community is, like, mostly established.
So let's start with the immediate tangible perks of being that early bird. Like if I'm the first one through the door, what am I actually getting that the guy who shows up, say, 2 years later, isn't?
Well, structurally, you're getting the luxury of choice. When a builder opens a new community, they have this set portfolio of floor plans.
Okay.
If you're one of the first buyers in the very first phase, you have a significantly wider array of those floor plans available to you. You aren't restricted by what's already been built or what the Architectural Review Committee has decided the streetscape needs to look like.
Right, because if the 3 houses next to my lot are all built with, I don't know, a certain exterior style, the builder might not let me build that same style.
No, they definitely won't.
Just to keep the neighborhood from looking like a giant copy and paste job.
Right, exactly. Builders carefully manage the visual diversity of the streetscape. But if you're first, the canvas is entirely blank.
Ah, I see.
And that leads to the second major advantage, which is home site selection. You get to look at the master blueprint of the entire upcoming phase and select the precise plot of land that fits your lifestyle.
So if you want the lot backing up to the protected tree line,
You can claim it.
and if you want the quiet cul-de-sac so your kids can ride their bikes without traffic,
It's yours. You have your pick of the litter.
so I'm visualizing it like this. Tell me if this works. Buying early in a new construction phase is exactly like being the first person in line at a massive premium buffet.
Oh, I like that.
Right? Like
Yeah.
you walk in right when the doors open, the carving station has 0 line, the prime rib is untouched, and you get to pick the absolute best corner table right by the window.
Yes, total freedom.
You have maximum flexibility. But like if you wait until an hour before the restaurant closes, the crowds have already ravaged the place.
Yeah, it's a mess.
Your options dwindle down to whatever's left over. You're getting like lukewarm macaroni and a table right next to the kitchen doors.
Yeah, it is a great way to look at it. But let's push that analogy just a bit deeper into the reality of real estate mechanics.
Okay, let's do it.
In a buffet, the food might run out, but the menu generally stays the same. In new home construction, the menu itself actually changes.
Wait, really?
Oh, yeah. Coach JB points out this crucial caveat in the New Home University curriculum, which is that options in real estate are never static. Every builder operates differently, and every single phase of development is its own, micro economy.
Wait, what do you mean the menu changes? I mean, a floor plan is a floor plan, isn't it?
Not at all. Actually, as a builder moves from phase one to phase two, they're constantly analyzing their profit margins, the supply chain, uh, buyer feedback.
So they might tweak things.
More than tweak. If a particular floor plan requires a specific type of lumber that just spiked in price, the builder might quietly retire that floor plan entirely for the next phase.
Oh, wow. I never thought about that.
Yeah, or they might realize that buyers in this specific demographic prefer open concept kitchens over formal dining rooms, so they just introduce a completely new model and scrap an old one.
That makes total sense.
This is why acting early matters so much. You want to make your decisions when the maximum number of variables, the floor plans, the lots, the finish options, are all still within your control.
Okay, I'm tracking with you. I get the corner lot. I lock in the exact floor plan I want before the builder decides to pull it from the market.
Right.
I'm winning the buffet.
Right.
But let's look at this from a practical, everyday standpoint for a second. I'm putting myself in the shoes of the listener who just pointed at a patch of dirt and signed a massive mortgage.
Okay, fair.
According to the data on Watermark at Westphalia, this specific community is projected to take approximately 5 years to fully build out.
Yes, 5 years.
5 years. I mean, if I'm the first one in, I'm literally pitching a tent in a dirt field.
Pretty much.
I'm going to be surrounded by bulldozers, framing crews, and dump trucks for half a decade. How in the world is living in a construction zone considered an advantage? Like, prove to me that this isn't just a massive headache.
Yeah, and that is the most common and, frankly, the most logical pushback any buyer has.
This sounds exhausting.
It does. Why would I want to wake up to the beep, beep, beep of a reversing backhoe every single morning?
Exactly.
But this is where Coach JB's philosophy forces us to look past the physical dust and understand the financial engine of a growing community. You have to understand why builders construct in phases to begin with, and how that directly impacts your wallet.
All right, let's get into the engine room then. Why do they do it in phases? Why not just pave all the roads, build all the amenities, and put up all the houses at once? Get it over with.
Well, it all comes down to risk mitigation and cash flow. Building a 5-year project like Watermark at Westphalia requires tens of millions of dollars.
Right.
The builders, lenders want to see proof of concept. They want to see that people actually want to live there before they release the funds to build the next 100 homes.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
So the builder opens phase one at a highly attractive price point. They're essentially saying to the early buyers, hey, we know the clubhouse isn't built yet. We know there's dirt everywhere. We are going to compensate you for that inconvenience by offering our lowest possible base price.
So the early buyers are basically taking on the risk of the unfinished neighborhood, and they're getting a discount for their trouble.
Exactly. Now, fast forward a year, phase one is sold out. The early buyers are moving in. The builder goes back to the bank and says, look, massive success. Let's open phase two.
Right.
But here is the critical mechanism. The builder is absolutely going to raise the base prices for phase two.
Why? Just because they can.
Well, because the community is slightly more established now. The risk is lower. The cost of labor and materials has likely gone up over that year. And obviously, they want to increase their profit margins.
Okay, so if I bought a house in phase one for, say, $500,000, the exact same floor plan in phase two might be released at, what, $530,000?
Precisely. And what happens when phase three opens?
The prices go up again.
Yes. By the time phase 4 or 5 rolls around, the clubhouse is finished, the walking trails are paved, the landscaping is mature, and the community looks like a glossy brochure.
Right, that's perfect.
But buyers who come in at that point are paying a massive premium because they are buying a finished product.
Wow.
But you, the early bird, you've
Yeah.
been sitting in your house, watching the community grow, and your home's equity has been artificially pulled upward by the builder's own pricing strategy.
That is fascinating. So the headache of the construction noise
Yeah.
is essentially just the sound of your own net worth increasing.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
You are getting paid in equity to tolerate the dust.
Think of it like investing in a business. Buying into the final phase of a community is like buying stock in a massive, publicly traded, blue-chip company.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
It's safe, it's predictable, but the massive growth has already happened. Buying into phase one of a new construction community is like being an angel investor in an early-stage startup.
Oh, I love that comparison.
Right. It's a little messy, it's a bit chaotic, but when the company finally goes public, when the neighborhood finishes its 5-year build-out, You reap the massive exponential rewards that the latecomers completely miss out on.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. If buying early is the equivalent of being an angel investor, you can't just stumble into the room on day one, throw a bag of money at the builder, and, like, hope for the best.
No, definitely not.
Angel investors do massive amounts of due diligence, which means jumping into a 5-year timeline requires serious, meticulous preparation.
Absolutely.
And this brings us to a fundamental pillar of the New Home University philosophy, which is prioritizing education over transaction.
Yes. This is perhaps the most critical component of the entire process. Because the real estate market is so dynamic, I mean, the only way to successfully navigate it is through continuous, low-pressure education.
Which people don't usually do.
No, most people treat buying a home transactionally. They wait until their lease is up or until they absolutely have to move, and then they sprint out to find a house. And that desperation is the enemy of strategy.
It really is. The sources are incredibly clear on this point, too. Coach JB and his team highly encourage you to visit model homes even if you are not ready to buy right now.
Yeah.
Even if your purchasing timeline is, 12 to 18 months out,
Yeah.
you should be walking through those doors this weekend. And I love this because it just takes all the pressure off.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here is the psychological intent behind that early visit.
What do you mean?
Well, the value does not lie in securing a contract that afternoon. The value lies in the tactile, physical experience of gathering data.
Right.
You need to walk through the model homes, physically feel the flow of different floor plans, learn the current pricing structures, and ask incredibly detailed questions long before you're forced to make a binding decision.
It's like the ultimate reconnaissance mission.
Exactly.
It makes me think about test driving cars, but doing it the smart way.
Okay, yeah.
Like, if you wait until your current car blows its transmission on the side of the highway to start looking for a new one, you're in trouble.
You're in huge trouble.
You're going to walk onto a dealership lot out of pure desperation and buy whatever they happen to have, usually on terrible terms, just because you need a vehicle by Monday.
And you will likely regret that purchase because it was driven by urgency, not strategy.
Exactly. The smart move is go into the dealership 6 months in advance on a quiet Tuesday morning. You test drive the SUV, you test drive the sedan,
Yeah.
you ask about the cargo space,
Yeah.
you gather all your data, and then you go home without the pressure of a salesperson breathing down your neck to sign the paperwork today.
You're gathering data for your future self.
Yes, you are gathering data for your future self.
That analogy perfectly highlights the importance of removing pressure from the educational phase. When you visit a community like Watermark at Westphalia early on, you are building a knowledge base. But just as importantly, you're beginning to build a critical relationship.
Let's talk about that relationship, actually, because the source material specifically highlights a key figure at Watermark at Westphalia, Renee, Washington.
Oh, yes.
She is the New Home University sales consultant for this specific community, working directly alongside Coach JB to implement this exact educational framework.
Right, and introducing someone like Renee Washington into the discussion shifts the paradigm entirely.
How so?
Well, in traditional real estate, you often deal with a salesperson whose sole metric of success is getting you to sign a contract today.
Right, you just want the commission.
Exactly. But the philosophy at New Home University is that buying a home is a long-term relationship built on trust, education, and exceptional service. It's a partnership, not just a simple transaction.
I mean, a transaction is swiping your card for a coffee.
Oh, wow.
A relationship is having a guide who understands that you're making a multi-year commitment to a growing community.
Yeah.
And who wants to make sure you actually survive the journey.
And having that insider guide is really the only way to mitigate the inherent massive uncertainties of the new construction process.
I am so glad you brought up the uncertainty because the sources do not sugarcoat this at all.
No, they don't.
They specifically emphasize that there are never, ever any guarantees regarding pricing, incentives, financing, or buyer eligibility.
Never.
That feels like a lot of incredibly important variables to just have floating up in the air. Like, how do you plan a major financial move when the ground is constantly shifting under you?
It is a significant amount of variables, and it all comes back to macroeconomics.
Okay.
The builder doesn't control the Federal Reserve, right?
Right.
So they can't guarantee what interest rates will be when your home is finally finished in 8 months.
Oh, right. Of course.
They don't control the global supply chain, so if the cost of concrete triples, they might have to adjust their base pricing or just pull certain incentives entirely.
Wow. Yeah.
Builder incentives change based on their quarterly sales goals, too. Like, If they're behind on their numbers for the month, they might offer a massive credit toward closing costs to get people in the door.
But if they're ahead,
If they're ahead of their numbers, those incentives disappear overnight.
so if you approach this purely as a transaction, like if you just walk in blindly expecting a fixed price and a fixed rate, that unpredictability is going to absolutely crush you. It would feel incredibly overwhelming.
Exactly. It's too much.
Hmm.
But if you approach it through the lens of education, you anchor yourself in the things you actually can control. You control your knowledge base. You control your readiness. If you've already walked the models, if you know exactly which floor plan fits your family, and if you've built a relationship with a guide like Renee Washington.
Someone who's actually on your side.
Right. Someone who can call you the minute a new phase drops or a new incentive is released, you are positioned to act decisively.
You become a sniper instead of someone just spraying and praying.
I love it.
You wait in the weeds, you know exactly what you want, and when the external variables line up in your favor, you execute.
Yes. That is the true essence of the early advantage. It is not just about being the first to sign a piece of paper. It's about being early to educate yourself.
Right.
Earlier you start gathering data, the more insulated you are against all that market volatility.
Okay, let's take a moment to pull all of this together because we have covered a massive amount of ground today on how to strategically approach one of the biggest purchases you will ever make.
We really have.
We've looked at the granular micro-level decisions, like picking a home site, all the way up to the macro-level timeline of how a massive community actually gets built from the dirt up.
And we've seen how those two levels interact, too, how the decision you make on day one reverberates through the entire 5-year trajectory of the community's growth.
So to summarize for you listening right now,
Uh,
gaining the early advantage means doing the hard work up front to secure your preferred choices. It's getting into the buffet early so you can claim that prime rib in the corner table before the builder decides to change the menu or the market scoops them up.
Yep, absolutely.
It means having the strategic patience to act like an angel investor, enduring the construction noise and the dirt to capture the massive equity growth that comes from a multi-year community build-out, just like the 5-year timeline at Watermark at Westphalia.
Right.
And above all, it means prioritizing education over a quick transaction. It means walking the models today, even if you aren't buying for a year, and building a relationship with experts who can guide you through a landscape where pricing and incentives are just constantly in flux.
Yeah, knowledge is only potential power. It becomes actual power when it is understood and strategically applied.
Oh, that's good.
The insights from Coach JB and New Home University provide a brilliant framework, but the application is entirely up to the buyer's willingness to step into that educational process.
And if you are ready to take that step and start your own educational process, the sources provide a very clear call to action.
Yes, they do.
If you want to ask specific questions, schedule a private consultation, or arrange a tour of the model homes at Watermark at Westphalia, you can visit newhomeuniversity.com to connect directly with Renee Washington and the team.
Highly recommend it.
They are the ones on the ground, holding the master blueprints, ready to help you start test driving your future options today.
It really is an invitation to begin gathering the data for your future self.
Absolutely. Well, as we wrap up this deep dive, we always like to leave you with a final thought to chew on. Something that takes everything we've discussed and pushes it just one step further into your own reality.
Yeah, and we spent a lot of time today talking about watching a community like Watermark at Westphalia grow over a 5-year period. We discussed the physical and financial changes, the new roads being paved, the completed clubhouses, the maturing landscaping, the rising equity.
All the good stuff.
Right. But consider this. Over those same 5 years, you, your family, and your lifestyle will inevitably undergo massive changes too.
Oh, wow.
I mean, 5 years is a long time. Your kids will grow older. Your career trajectory might shift. Your daily routines will transform. So as you think about buying into a long-term project, ask yourself, how might the way you interact with your home need to evolve as the neighborhood literally rises from the ground up around you?
That's a great question.
Are you buying a floor plan for who you are today, or for who you will be when the dust finally settles?
A changing home for a changing life. Something to definitely think about. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.